Well, good afternoon, everyone. And once again, we're here, Spiritual Infinity. And my guest today is Susanne Arens, who's I've had on before. But today, although she did talk about what she does, and very interesting, very interesting. My podcast today, and I'm doing a series on NDEs, near death experiences, and she has a wealth of knowledge about that. So, without much ado, and she's in Colorado, I'm in London, there's a 7 hour difference. And isn't that fantastic that we can be here at the same time in two different places and we're talking? So, Susanne, go again. And how are you?
Hello, hello. Thank you so much for having me back. I enjoy being with you and your company. You have such great, beautiful energy.
Thank you, Susanne. So this time, before we were talking about your spiritual journey and what went on in your life to lead you to what you were doing, and now today, and you do very interesting work, and you also work sometimes for the government, for the police, because you can see things and go beyond. But today we are talking about those NDEs, those transitions and coming back and saying to people, life does go on beyond here, and not to be afraid. Really, don't be afraid. It's there. So, Susanne, I'm not going to say any more. How are you going to start? Welcome.
Thank you for having me back. Well, in case somebody, I guess, hasn't seen the other interview or has never heard of me, I was born with abilities, but where I come from, this wasn't a thing. So I didn't understand why things seemed different for me and the experiences I was having. And as I got older, even through my childhood, I've had some really dangerous close calls on snowmobiles and motorcycles and all sorts of things and cars. But as I got older, I've had some real serious illnesses, cancer a few times, and some heart problems and other things like that. And during surgery and during recovery, I stopped breathing and had some very close calls. But I have found out that I've been kept alive because I have a mission to fulfill, and by gosh, they're going to make sure I get my job done. So part of that is letting people know that there is no death. In fact, Spirit helped me write the book. They told me I was going to write a book, and I said, "Oh, no, I'm partly dyslexic. I'm sure I'm ADHD. I'm 60, so this wasn't a thing that was labeled when we were in school. So I'm like, not me. I hire writers to write things for one of my businesses, and next thing I know, it just kept bombarding me with book deals and classes for writing, all this kind of stuff. So I said, well, what am I supposed to write about? And so they provided me the ability to capture proof of the afterlife, that there really is no death, that life continues on. In fact, in the book, I have shared dozens and dozens of pictures of the spirit world that you can see. Here's just a few. I don't know if that will show up on your screen.
Yes,
But
because
one of the prettiest one was, and you'll have to see it in the book, I guess, or online, but to prove that there is no death, I had gone to a location close to where I live where a United flight had crashed over 30 years ago. And I went there to pay my respects and to let them know they weren't forgotten. And I was there for quite a while, so it became dark. And one of the people I was talking to was this older gal. And I fly occasionally. And so I guess the morbid question I had in my mind was, what would that be like to be in an airplane that you knew was going to crash? It's one thing, I've been on plenty of scary flights, but to be on one that you know is going to crash, what goes through your mind? So I asked her. And she blew my socks off when she said it was joyous. And I thought to myself, that would be the last thing that would have gone through my mind. Because the plane just took a nosedive straight in. Like, how could that have been joyous? And she says, oh, honey, we all went together before the impact. So there was no hitting the ground and all that kind of stuff. She goes, we all went before the impact. And when we arrived, she goes, like a big family reunion. All of our family and friends were there, and my husband was there. And it was joyous. And I thought, wow, that I didn't expect.
let me stop you there. Let me recap. you went to a place where there had been a plane crash.
Yeah.
And you went, and this happened some years ago.
Yep, over 30 years ago. Mm-hmm.
And you went to this place just to pay your respects in remembrance of the people who died in this plane crash.
Yeah.
And you were there for quite some time just to remember. And were you, amongst this lady, were there anybody else who went that were human?
Oh, that were human with me? I'm just my husband.
Okay, so it was just you and your husband, and you decided to go just to pay your respects. So something must have drawn you to go. And there was this elderly woman, and you picked up that this elderly woman was not of this world.
Well, so what I did is I go into meditation and I open myself up to the spirit world. And I asked if there was anybody that was around that wanted to come and tell me their story, that I would love to hear it. So I talked to a businessman briefly, and I talked to some others, but then this elderly woman appeared. And I said, oh, hi. And she'd either just come from visiting her grandkids or was coming here to visit them. I couldn't remember which way it was now. I think I remembered it when I wrote the book. But and so I had a lovely conversation with her, and the crazy thing is when we were done talking, by now it's dark, and I took out my camera and I started taking some pictures because I have the ability to capture them on film. And in fact, in the back of the book, I teach people how to do it themselves. But anyways, so I took some pictures and nothing. I mean, there's some street lights and things like that, but nothing. And I thought, oh, well, that's so odd. I always capture them. So I get back and I'm at work, and I don't know, maybe 2 days had passed, and Spirit said, go back and look at your photos. And I went, okay. And all I had with me at the time was my cell phone. So the images are already a little small when I'm looking at them. And I'm like, I don't see anything. And then I went, well, what is that? And I zoomed way in, and to this day, her spirit is the prettiest spirit I have ever captured. And I believe I actually have captured some angels as well on camera in our home, but hers to this day is still, and it's in the book, you can see the picture in the book, the prettiest spirit energy I've ever captured. And I've captured truly at this point thousands. It was just amazing.
And the fact that she can say to you, which is very interesting, that before the plane actually impacted, they crossed over. So it probably pressure or whatever took them, and they all crossed over.
Yeah, and here's one thing I want to clarify too for people. Some people think, oh my gosh, these souls are trapped there. No, they're not. I'm not saying that souls can't get trapped on Earth, but for the most part, no souls really are trapped. They might trap themselves. Let's just say they didn't believe in God or the afterlife. And so when their souls depart their body, they might be wandering on Earth because they don't, number one, sometimes realize they're dead right away. And number two, they don't realize, go to the light and the love, right? And so, but they're not trapped. I called for them and I asked, does anybody want, and you have to understand, we are energy, the spirit world's energy. So when I opened myself up and I blended with the energy of the universe, now I can tap into them anywhere, place, and time, right? So that's the difference. The other thing is that I've learned, in fact, this was before we discovered a show that I think your listeners would really enjoy, especially based on this topic. It's called The Ghost Inside My Child. And it's a strange title, but there was, I think, 3 seasons out, and I think it was originally on Netflix, but Google it. I think you get on Fiverr and other streaming services, but it's The Ghost Inside My Child. And these are children that remember their prior lives. So this gets into 2-part fold. Well, if there is no death, how can I reincarnate? How do I have an NDE, right? It's all woven together. And in the dying process, these children, they might have a nightmare that they can't get out of the container, per se, like a plane crash or something. They can't get out of it, and they're just scared about that. But there's no pain and suffering in that transition process. In fact, I don't want to give the shows away, but one episode was a little boy that remembered being one of the jumpers from 9/11.
Oh, 9/11.
From 9/11. there was a couple of jumpers, from those skyscrapers. But here's what I want your listeners to understand is that listening to him talk, and I'm going to paraphrase him, but he says, I jumped out the window from the fire and the heat. He goes, but then, the body departed instantly. And he was floating over himself. His soul was floating over the vessel, the body, when the body hit the ground. And he said some bizarre comment like, and my brains went everywhere, because he didn't care anymore. I know that's a little morbid, but the point is I'm trying to get across is he didn't care. It wasn't scary. That wasn't horrific for him. He wasn't having nightmares about seeing this body that he knew was his, what happened to it at death. He was out. It was just that outfit he had on in this lifetime.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Your soul is in that outfit. This is what
Yes.
you look like, as an African-American woman, right? With beautiful hair, and I'm a blonde one with blonde hair. This is just what we look like in this lifetime. That is not our soul and our essence. It lives on. So when people have NDE experiences, my favorite to watch and listen to are the ones that were atheists, because they go someplace, and when they get there, they're like, well, wait, but they feel more alive when they're dead than they did when they were actually walking the earth. And they're like, where am I? And who are you? And and then their memory starts to come back, and they're like, oh my gosh, it's real. Oh, I remember. Oh, I love Jesus. They start to remember all this, but then they're told, well, it's actually not your time. You got to go back. And they all go, no, please don't. And then they wake up in like a recovery room or in the ambulance or wherever, but nobody ever wants to come back down here once they get to the other side. But it's very, very much a thing.
Now, I've heard this when I've watched NDEs time and time again, when they're on the other side and they're told they need to go back. And when they're describing it, it's so wonderful. The colors are so intense, so vibrant. The feeling is so calming, so peaceful that they don't want to come back. And I've read this time and time. They really didn't want to come back because they needed to come back and face the life of the bills and the this and the that
and the pain, the aches and the pains and that.
And they say it's not your time. No. And and unless there was one I read, and she died, and because she had cancer, went through so much, but she came back because she had work, and that was it's a very famous book, Dying to Be Me, and she came back because she had work to do. But she said she knew when she came back she wouldn't have the cancer anymore because she discovered what was needed and cleared it, and she came back. But for all those who just went and it wasn't their time, they said they didn't want to. It's so nice. And I suppose this is why I want to talk about this subject, because when I see sometimes the quality of life towards the end of life and that we're holding on to, and I'm thinking, no, I can't do this. I would have to go. I'm not hanging around for this. And I suppose it's because I believe in the eternity of life. I believe that we came from somewhere and went to somewhere, and where we come from is so beautiful.
Yeah. So
your experience of seeing sometimes these people from the other side, and communication with them, it's just reiterating that it is beautiful, it is okay. And when you hear that, you jump out the window before you even hit the ground, you've gone. That is so reassuring, because you're not going through that pain.
You're not going through it. And when I had learned all this over the last 5-6 years, I guess, it brought me a lot of comfort, because you think of some of the very cruel things humans do to each other, cruel, and the suffering, even, the burning on the stake and that kind of thing, witches burn them at the stake. Some of the horrific things that humans can do to each other. But know that the body might still be moving and breathing because it's a physical living organ, but your soul is energy that just hitches a ride on that machine, this vessel, right? And once this is done being useful to us, we are totally unscathed, but we've learned hopefully valuable lessons that we take back to the spirit world. In fact, if I may share with you, I started doing this not that long ago for some clients that wanted to learn meditation, proper meditation. And so I take them into it, and I help them fire up their chakra points and help them make that energy connection and tell them kind of what to say. And it really is, if there's one word you can say to help you make that true connection when you're in meditation, is to really truly mean this from the deepest part of your soul. I love you. I love you. Yes. And when you can really truly release that and truly mean it to God and your angels and your guides. And for me, it's Jesus. Some people, you might call it different. You might call it the divine source, whatever you want it. You might call it Yahweh, whatever is okay with you. Just know that there is this ultimate divine source that loves us unconditionally. And when you can bring yourself to a point where you can get out of your own way and just say, I love you. And true, see, every time I say that, my whole body just starts to, because we're electricity and it's energy.
All that love. What you're saying is to say it and feel it, really feel it.
And my clients are feeling it back. In fact, when I take them out of it, most of them end up being in tears like, I felt so different. And they try so hard to find the right words. And I said, unconditional love. And they're like, yeah, I guess that's what that feels like, just to be accepted. Because you learn to blend. The key is life is so busy and we're all so stressed out. And we've always got a million things running through our minds, and trying to quiet the noise and get rid of all the distractions and just realize you're here for a very short amount. Even if you live for 100 years, it's such a short amount of time and the vastness of eternity. So this is just a college course you signed up for. It's not meant to be easy. There's going to be a lot of tests and quizzes and exams along the way to get you to learn what you're supposed to learn in this lifetime. It's not meant to be easy, right? But don't ever forget why you're here, to learn a lesson and to love. Just love other people, love yourself, and give love. And when you can give ultimate gratitude, thank you so much for accepting me the way I am. I am seriously flawed. I've made so many mistakes, and yet I know you still love me and you accept me. And for that, I am forever grateful. When you can literally get to that point and really mean it and let it go and shut out the universe, what comes back is so beautiful. So beautiful.
And when you can get to the point where you can say, when you know that, you say to the Creator, I am flawed and I am so sorry, and be deeply sorry, and know that the Creator unconditionally loves you and you want that love. What also comes is that when you recognize that you're so flawed, when you recognize that you want to be loved, you've got to recognize that in others as well, that they're flawed and they need to be loved. Right. It works. You can't want for yourself.
I believe we are all children of God. Yes. I'm so sorry. Our time was up. I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to cut you off.
Yes. And therefore, we're all connected. And therefore, when things happen, rather than just react, remember that we're all connected and find out what is it that you can change or do to help that other. Or maybe just stand back, but also know that they're trying and maybe don't understand, but we're all connected, and have that forgiveness.
Yeah, forgive yourself, but learn from your mistakes. Don't keep saying mean, nasty things over and over, Yes. But I'd love to share a story that just recently happened. A gal, younger gal, was seeking someone to help her understanding spirituality and things that were happening. She felt like maybe there was something dark following her, or people putting dark curses on her. I didn't really kind of understand the whole thing until I met with her. And long story short, I guess her great grandfather was a Mason, and they've done some pretty heinous things from what I can understand. Her great grandmother was some kind of hierarchy in Wicca, a Wiccan, which they can also do some darker things. And some very close family members of hers as well still practice that. And she dated a guy for a while too, and they did some things that she is not proud of. I don't know all the details of it, but she just felt like, so she found God. She became a Christian just, I think, a year and a half, 2 years ago. And I said, let me ask you, how did that feel going from a whole lifetime and a belief system of this, and then just letting go and accepting, undivine love, whether you want to call it Jesus or God, whatever, the undivine love, that there's something beautiful. And she goes, I have to be honest, I felt so different. Like my energy shift was black and white. It was just so different. And once I embraced the light, I could literally see the darkness for what it was. And she goes, it's horrific. And I'm so scared. So as she was waiting, she came a little early, so she waited in my lobby, and I'm in the back powering it for her reading. And I have a big crystal cluster in the middle of the coffee table there. And I always do a white light protection prayer. I always protect myself, my client, the environment, everything, nothing can get in. And as I did that, the light just boom, kind of blew up in the room. And I went, wow, that's never happened before. That's awesome. And I thought this is going to be amazing. So I brought her back, and as I sat down, and she was starting to tell me things, and I could tell she was so fully hurt. And remember, you got to understand we're flawed. And Jesus and God loves us anyways. We're flawed. And as she's describing, I sensed that she was feeling that she didn't deserve the love because of who she was, her family upbringing, things she's done with an ex-boyfriend, right? The guilt, the shame. Next thing I know, literally I have her angel hovering right above me, her angel. And I went, can I just stop you for a minute, honey? And she goes, what? I said, I knew this was going to be a really powerful reading, but I said, I just got to let you know, your main angel's here. And she wants me to tell you this. And it was just this beautiful reassurance that she's got her back and that she is loved by God, all this stuff. So that reading went on and on. It was a beautiful exchange. And she was able to validate so many things that I brought in. In fact, at one point, I don't ever touch my clients unless I ask first, but I could see her angel was standing next to her and had her hand on her shoulder. And I said, may I come and touch you the way that your angel is touching you right now on your shoulder? And she said, sure. And I said, close your eyes, please. And I put my hand on her shoulder. And she said, everything, and she has meditated. She's done a lot of stuff with spirituality her whole life since she was little. She goes, for the first time ever, everything went green, like glowed green. She said, and I said, that's your love chakra. Your green is love chakra. And I said, it's from your angel. She loves you. And then the angel had me put my hand down the side of her back here as I walked away. I not just here, but like I need to do this. She told me later, she messaged me from home and said, I didn't tell you this, but I woke up with severe pain in that shoulder and in that shoulder blade that morning. And when my angel put her hand, when you put your hand on my shoulder and then rubbed down my shoulder blade like that, it disappeared and it's not come back. Now, fast forward even more. There's a lot of synchronicity she shared, but get a load of this one. This one should blow your socks off because I'm like, holy crap, I don't want to ever forget this. So it was storming out, so she had hired an Uber to come and get her. Well, the first Uber canceled. And the next thing you know, that same Uber turned around and came back and got her. But when she got into the car, he had energy crystals on his dash, a Bible sitting in the passenger seat. And he started to talk to her about God's love, spirituality, never walking alone, that angels are with you, all this kind of stuff. And she's like, what is that all about? And as I'm reading this, as she's typing it and I'm reading it, I thought that was literally an angel that possessed that Uber driver, made him come back around and get her and to share all this with her as another layer of reinforcement. You're not alone. And when I told her the name of her angel, she goes, I've heard that name a lot the last couple of years, ever since I didn't know why that. And when I told her that, so many things just aligned for her that now she knows, no matter what you or your listeners might have done, you can totally change your life around. Just because you've made bad choices prior doesn't mean that defines who you are soulfully. Only that you're human and you've made some bad choices, whether because of influences that you were exposed to or whatever that might have been. But when people have NDEs, it's even, it can even be darker than this client. May I share this one story? Because I shared it with the client, and her angel wanted me to share this so that,
it's lovely.
well, her angel wanted me to share the story with her so that she would understand, no matter what you've done,
Yes.
if you turn your love to the divine,
Yes.
you will be forgiven and accepted. God doesn't ever want his kids to turn. So this gal was a satanic person, like a Satanist or whatever. She ran a Satan club, and she was the head of it. I don't know what they were called, but she was a really bad person, right? I mean, did some really awful things. Well, she did have, I think it was a drug overdose, and she died. I think I might have even shared her story on my social media, on TikTok or Instagram or something. It was a couple of years ago now, but long story short, she went to hell. And when she got there, she's like, oh my gosh, this is real? Like, she literally was so naive. She just thought she was getting things to happen. She felt like it was more like magic. She didn't really understand. She was really dealing with the dark, like the evil, right? Yep. And so she's in hell, and she's like, I didn't realize this really was, God, I am so sorry. And literally started to pray for God. And he came and saved her. And she has now spent the rest of her life teaching the word of God, because she just didn't realize, in fact, your words have power and energy. I mean, words mean things. In fact, I just recently posted one where the scientists showed, like, even icky, gross water, and if you say, you are beautiful, I love you, it turns into this beautiful, like, snowflake. And and if you say, I hate you, you are ugly, you are miserable, it turns into this globby mess. And this is nothing more than a droplet of water, but that's energy. We're energy. But the kicker is, yes, you can have energy, negative energy projected on you, but you can clear it out yourself. But the thing is, whoever throws it at you, it comes back to the 10 times fold. So I always tell people, you get what you put out. You put out love and kindness, you get back love and kindness. You put out crap towards others, well, baby, that stuff's coming back to you 10 times fold. I'd love to share another hell story with your listeners, if that's okay.
Please, yes.
This one, I'll never forget this one. And I'll summarize it quickly. Again, a gangbanger. He was a really bad guy who was in the gang. He'd done a lot of really nasty things in his lifetime, and he was shot and he died on one of their outings, let's just say. And next thing you know, he's standing in hell, and he can see a pit over here, and in there was like ministers and pastors. I'm sorry, I took the money. I'm sorry, I took the money. And there's other people back here burning and screaming about this. There's all these different areas where different types of torture were happening. People were being shredded alive, and then they'd be rebuilt, and then shredded alive again. Just ongoing torment. And he just got down on his knee and said, God, I'm not even going to ask you to save me. I deserve to be here. But just know, I truly am so sorry. And I love you. And I'm sorry. But I would ask for one small favor. Please don't put me in the pit back there where they're burning alive. That's the only thing I ask you. Other than that, I deserve to be here. And now Satan comes up in front of him, laughing. You are mine. You are mine. All of a sudden, he feels this warmth behind him, a different kind of warmth, not the heat from hell, and a bright light. So like someone turned a spotlight on behind him. And next thing he heard was this booming voice. He is my child. He has redeemed himself. I am taking him home. And then Satan's screaming, he is mine, he is mine, he's what I've done, I deserve, blah, 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 blah. He goes, he is mine. Next thing you know, he wakes up in the ambulance. And he wakes up. God saved him. Put him back on earth. You got a do-over, just like the woman that went to hell. You got a do-over. You better choose wisely this time, right? So he was revived in the ambulance and started breathing again. And he has now spent the rest of his life teaching the word of God. Things are real. Make better choices.
Let me go to the previous story, the one where she was dealing with Satan and the covens and all this kind of thing. How did she die? How did she come back?
I think it was a drug overdose. I remember right. Drug overdose.
So through that, they were able to revive her and she came back?
Yeah, if they can get to somebody soon enough, there's a product they can give. I think it starts with an N.
Yeah, that's okay.
And they were able to revive her. Yeah.
Yeah.
But this
And she's
guy he was shot doing gangbanging stuff or whatever. He was so bad, they weren't even going to try to save him. They're like, just put him in, take him to the hospital and to the morgue kind of thing. And then he'd start breathing on his own. They're like, holy crap. God can do amazing things, but the power of prayer as well, even when you are on your lowest and you might feel like you don't deserve God's love or anybody's love. And that's just not true. I mean, your loved ones on the other side, even your pets, they so badly want you to be happy and be around you, that it's never too late to pray. There's one, I think I did share this one as well. This gal was in a terrible car accident, like multi-car pilot, and she died at the scene. And so she's standing next to, I think it was Jesus, it could have been God, Jesus in heaven, looking down on earth. And she could see earth like she was on the moon or something, way up. And she could see all these beams of light coming from earth. And it was explained to her, well, these are people praying. We hear all their prayers.
Yes.
And she goes, what? And they zoomed in, and like it was 2 cars back from her was a guy in there. And he was in the car praying for her. And she literally could hear the love in his heart and the sincerity in the prayer. I mean, you can't just pray for praying. You got to mean it. I mean, put real thought and energy behind what you're saying. And she seen what he looked like, got the make and model of the car, even got his license plate number. Because then God asked, do you want to go back or stay? And she wanted to go back. She had young kids, I think it was, and wanted to come back with them and help raise them. Couple of weeks, I think it could have been a couple of months, but I think it was a couple of weeks. And she revived, she recovered. She looked him up, because remember, she knows what he looks like, make and model of the car and a license plate number. She looked him up and called him and just said, were you in this car accident on this date going on Highway 57 or whatever it was? He goes, yeah, why? He goes, yeah, I was the gal in the car that you were praying for. How do you know I was praying for you? Well, we could see your prayer in heaven. And he's like, oh. She goes, yes. And he goes, how did you find me? He goes, well, I seen you, your car, and your license plate number, so I looked you up with the DMV. The power of prayer. So when you're on your lowest point in life, honestly, angels and guides don't tend to interfere a lot, but they will. Just pray and sincerely mean it, but don't pray to win the lottery. And for heaven's sakes, don't pray to do something harmful or horrible to somebody else,
It's all about what is, and it keeps on coming back over and over again. What is in the heart?
Yes.
What comes from the heart? Because they say when a woman gets pregnant, the first organ that is formed is the heart, and the heart is the connection to the Creator. That's where you get everything. And it's what is in the heart, what you sincerely want and desire is from the heart. And it's not about giving money. No. Money, you can always get money. You can, and I've done one before. There are wealthy people out there, and they're miserable. They're absolutely miserable. They're not happy.
What money, people say fame and fortune. I want fame and fortune. No, you don't. You really don't. You really don't.
Happiness and health. And have a beautiful life, whatever that is for you. But you don't need billions. You can't spend it all. Yeah. But it's what is in the heart, and remembering that we're all connected, and therefore what you want is that beautiful life where you can go out in the morning and say hello to your neighbor, and walk down the street or get on the bus and say hello to everybody, and people are communicating with everybody, and you can talk and you can have advice. Oh, this is wrong. Oh, I know this. Or what a beautiful life that is, than having millions.
Oh yeah.
When everybody can communicate in love with everybody and have that energy around.
Pearly gates, well, there really isn't pearly gates, but it's just a metaphor we always say. But when you get to heaven, there is kind of a judgment, but it's not because of punishment. You punish yourself more when that happens. It's more of an understanding, like, why didn't you pass that exam, right? Like what choices did you do that got you to that point that you reacted that way? And you are given the ability, you feel everything that you made other people feel, the joy and the misery. So choose wisely. I mean, you can't be a real butthead through your whole life here, and then at the very end go, okay, I didn't mean any of it, God, please forgive me. There is a judgment day. I mean, but it's not a form of punishment. In fact,
to face what you have done, and probably if you're coming back to actually experience that which you created.
Well, that's a whole nother conversation. Yeah. I truly believe, for more than one reason, that let's just say you were very cruel to animals. I truly have come to the realization that you are going to come back and you are going to be that animal, and someone will treat you the way you treated, so that you can fully understand what you did, the harm you did. Because God created all life in the universe, all souls, all living creatures, the cats and the dogs and the parrots, as well as the deer and the bear and the elk. I mean, he created all life, and none was meant to be tortured and things like that. But I will tell you, this was very profound, and I won't tell the whole story because we don't probably have time for that. But I had gone down not very long ago in 2025 to the Aztec ruins in New Mexico. And I had talked to, first it was an elder, a male elder, and he was telling me about different types of things. And one of the things he shared with me was that they prayed over every life they took, meaning the wildlife. Like if they had to kill a rabbit so they could eat it, nothing, the bones didn't go to waste, the fur didn't go to waste, none of the meat went to waste. But before they did that, they prayed over that animal and gave that animal thanks for providing them with nourishment, allowing them to leave. He goes, because, and I'm paraphrasing, I wrote it down right away so I wouldn't forget it, but he was basically saying, we totally understand the structure of life, right? So they totally understand that the mountain lion might eat the coyote, who might eat the bobcat, who might eat the rabbit, who might eat they totally understand this. And there has to be a balance, right? But typically, they all tend to go after the old and the weak and different, and the young as well. But I mean, they understand this, and they would give thanks for all of that. So it's not that you have to be a vegetarian. It's not that at all. It's just that when you go out to kill for the sake of killing.
Oh yeah.
I'm not a fan of that. I'm just not. I'm not going to tell anybody how to live your life, but that really was it's not a game. You know what I mean? No. And they literally call wild animals game. You know what I mean? And that was never the intention. Every animal on earth, including us, has a role that we're supposed to be playing and fulfilling. And sometimes, influences form our opinion on things. And
as you say, the mountain lion to the bobcat, it all goes down. And they only kill when they need to eat.
And there are so many people out there where you'll see like a lioness protecting like a young antelope from all the other lions wanting to kill it. It's like, no, it's not going to be killed. Now she's got the motherly instinct, but there's plenty of these examples where in fact, I recently watched, I don't know what show it was, but it was showing a game trail camera, right? Mm-hmm. And they were showing all these animals walking by. And there goes a deer, and then there goes a mountain lion behind it, and they're all walking, and here comes a bear. They're all just hanging out. No one's hungry. Nobody needs to kill. Animals don't kill for the sport of it unless there's something wrong where they've got, a disease or something like that. And so they too understand it. So
you only do it when it's necessary. When it's not necessary, we don't do it. And this is what we human beings need to understand. We don't kill for the sport of it. Then destroy herds and things till they're nearly in existence.
Well, there's supposed to be a balance. And, if man hadn't intervened in your lifetime and in my lifetime, we wouldn't even have elephants or giraffes or any of these tigers. They wouldn't be even alive anymore in the world, because people are hunting them for game and other things. And so that's where, if you just did things for the right reasons, we would have a very stable balance. And, but that just goes down a whole nother rabbit hole. But NDEs, I love, like I said, the atheists, because they never come back an atheist. And when an atheist comes for a reading, they don't leave an atheist. And so that's what I love, is because they realize, there's more.
Is there a story you have with atheists who have actually, well, yes, you mentioned one earlier. Have you have any more with atheists crossing over or having some kind of a situation where they then do come back? I know you did speak about one.
I would love to tell your listeners about one. Yeah.
Please do. Yeah.
Okay, because he is, oh, so sorry. I know our timing's off slightly. I'm apologize.
Go ahead.
His name is Eben Alexander, and he was a neuroscientist, a doctor. He did brain surgery and stuff, right? And an atheist, because most scientists are atheists. But now it's really funny. There's such a huge shift going on. I mean, yes. Spirituality is taking off. And when it comes to spirituality, does that mean you have to be Catholic or Lutheran or Baptist? No. I mean, I'm Catholic, but spirituality is your belief in the higher power, right? And then to the divine and to the afterlife. And it's really growing. And there's such a battle going on in the world right now between good and evil. And evil is dying out and the good is winning. But boy, the evil is hanging on and pulling all these dirty tricks. And oh my goodness. But it's amazing, his story. And in fact, he's not even a doctor anymore. I think he just writes books and speaks on this topic because he died. He got, holy golly gee, what's it, meningitis, the swelling and the disease of the brain, where the brain, it's like illness of the brain, and it swells and you usually always die. And he got it. And he was like clinically brain dead, right? But what he was experiencing was profound. So while he's brain dead and they're contemplating unplugging him, he's in heaven flying on the back of a butterfly. And it was raining, but it was raining crystals like diamonds. And he looked over, on the back of the other butterfly was his sister he hadn't met. And remembers clearly it's a beautiful, beautiful story. Yes, he recovers. Now, when you are as bad as he, recovery is almost not a thing. Most people die. Like, I don't know what the percentage, but it's really high. And if you do recover, there's brain reincarnations. There's a lot of brain damage. He woke up and came out of it like perfectly fine. The irony is I think he was adopted, and he was looking for his birth sister, and he had reached out to somebody about that. I don't remember the details because gosh, it's been 10, 15 years since I remember the story, but or heard it. But he reached out to them and had never heard back. Well, 2 weeks after he recovered, he gets a letter in the mail. They found his sister, but she had passed. But in the letter was a picture of her.
Same picture when he was on the butterfly. He saw
her in heaven. Because she said, you're going to be okay. This is all going to be okay. Don't worry. You're going to be okay. That was truly his sister he was talking with when he was on death's door, reassuring him. Because when he looked at the picture, he went, number one, she was in spirit. She was already in heaven. Number two, the picture looked just like the woman on the back of the other butterfly. Now, remember, he's an atheist and a scientist, and this isn't a thing. Because they all say, oh, you lied. Oh, that's just your brain cells dying. I mean, all these silly, goofy things they say.
And this is his sister, a woman that he hadn't seen from...
Never met her.
He never met her because it's a younger sister. So he never met her.
Well, I think they were put up for adoption or something. And he knew of her, but never met her. So he was trying to find her, something like that. I don't remember the exact details. So that's what I say.
Grown up, died. He's now in that state of in between, sees this person, comes back, then he gets this letter and say, oh, this is the person, but she's now passed over, but this is what she used to look like. And it's the same person he met in that near-death experience.
Isn't it beautiful?
You can't make that up.
Isn't it beautiful?
He was an atheist.
Oh yeah. Science, medical doctor. He's like, no, I don't believe in heaven. I don't believe in an afterlife. Then how do you explain this and the evidence of the sister and the photo and everything else, and 100% recovered? So it's just amazing. Like, we have a purpose here. Like, most of the people that do get to come back down, a lot of them are given a choice. Do you want to go back? And if they're a parent with young kids, they usually always say, I want to go back, right? That's how we know about their story. Some people say, I don't want to come back, but then I woke up and I didn't want to be here. And they were screaming in recovery, I want to go to, don't bring me back. Don't send me back. I want to stay with Jesus. And they wake up screaming this. And they're like, flipping A, I'm back, into the body from the car accident or whatever. And they're in so much pain and contraction. It's like, because you're not done. You signed up for an education. The semester's not over yet. You got to go back and finish the class. Dropouts aren't allowed. So those that like tap out and commit suicide, guess what? You're not cutting class early. You don't get to drop out of the semester, and if you don't pass calculus 1, people, you're not going to get into calculus 2, let alone calculus 3. That's not how this works. So as you ascend in heaven to different levels, because when you pass, we all vibrate at a different frequency. I vibrate at a high one. Apparently I'm a very old soul. And so when I listen to music and sound, when I meditate, what I listen to that locks me in immediately is a higher vibration versus what most people will listen to, right? Yeah. So when you ascend to become different things in the spirit world, in the afterlife. And we're not all wanting to be the same thing. And so we all don't want to go. Some people get their high school diploma and say, that's good. I'm good. I'm going to be where I want to be for now, right? Eternity is a long time. Other people might go for 2 years, associate degree, because they want to get better at learning how to do something. And then they go to the nether level at heaven. And some might go to the master's, bachelor's, PhD, right? Not everybody's going through the PhD. So we all don't go to the same place in the spirit world. And we all came down here to learn certain lessons of life, right? I have a dear friend of mine, and she is like but she was on a show for 9-10 years, won all these awards out of New Zealand. And she helps solve crimes as well. And she's amazing. We went to Egypt together. The things that happened there were just crazy, but crazy awesome. But anyways, she discovered on the deathbed of her mom that, because her life was very, very difficult. And I want you to read her book. Her name is Sue Nicholson. So look her up. Her name is Sue Nicholson. And she lives in Australia, or New Zealand. And so she was on the TV show in New Zealand, lived in Australia, originally from England. Anyways, I don't want to give her thing away, but it's really amazing. And she learned that she was not a kind mother to her daughter. So in this lifetime, the roles were changed. Yeah. And then she was the daughter with a very unkind mother.
Yeah.
See?
So she had to experience that.
She had to experience that like this, and not as a punishment, but as an understanding. This is what you did for this soul. And you don't take all that pain and anguish with you to the other side. So people will come in. I'll have like a mom and dad came in from a reading once, and the daughter's like, well, I find that very hard to believe. They despise each other. I said, here they did. There it's different. I said, it's completely different. You're healing the heart. You have an understanding of choices and why you did. You were made to feel what you did to that other person. I said, they have reconciled, trust me. And they both love you dearly. And this is why they're here, and so on and so forth. But it's just so interesting to me that, like you were saying earlier, I think roles get played, played out differently. So be kind to all living things, because God loves them all. And you might have to come back and feel that suffering that you put that animal through or that child through.
Susanne, as always, I love speaking to you because of what you experience, what you see, and it is giving us wealth of information that helps us how we think and how we can live on this earth plane. And before I wind this up and say goodbye, you mentioned about Egypt. We're going to talk that afterwards, because I might need you to come on and do another show with regards to Egypt. But before we say goodbye and thank you, as I say, a little gold nugget of advice.
Well, if I had only one thing to tell someone, I would tell them this.
Or two.
You're never alone. You're never really alone. No one's spying on you in the shower or the bathroom, but you're never really alone. And I think so many people have anger and depression because they feel like nobody understands them, that they're literally going through life by themselves. They have this overwhelming sense of sadness and loneliness. I promise you, you are not alone. We all come here with, regardless of what your faith might be, and if you don't have faith, just look into it. It doesn't mean that you have to go to church every week. It doesn't mean that, but please know that there is a divine entity that has created all life in the universe. And that divine entity and their son called Jesus loves us so much. I mean, the love is just so, so much. And if you can learn to meditate and blend your energy, you'll see what I mean. But you're not alone, and you're not walking alone. The best thing is you gotta, when you are depressed and feeling lonely, remember I was saying earlier, we vibrate on frequencies. It's down here, right? You're vibrating very low. Your frequency is very low. And there are some really not great things that vibrate at those lower frequencies, right? And so the irony is, it's when we're depressed, especially after, like, I've lost a daughter, after losing a child, I mean, you just want to die. You just want to give up. You just can't imagine. The physical and mental pain is just more than you can even process. But the irony is they're trying so hard from here. So when I give readings, I have to raise my vibration even higher. They've got to lower theirs, so we blend, right? They're trying to reach you by flashing lights at you, changing the TV channel or the radio you're listening to. They try to give you signs on billboards or the back of someone's window by a bumper sticker. Don't say, well, that's just a coincidence. If you doubt what I'm saying, ask for a sign. Ask either for a loved one that you've lost into spirit to give you a sign. And I was talking to a guy recently, and he says, yeah, my dad loved peaches. He goes, I don't know why, he just love peaches. So I tested this theory, and I said, yeah, Dad, well, if this thing's real, I want you to give me a sign. Like, just give me a sign of this. And he goes, 2 days went by, because it might not be instant, right? He goes, 2 days go by. And he goes, and I had a slam on my brake because a big box truck went in front of me, and on the side of it was a huge sign saying peaches. He goes, I might not be the smartest crayon in the box or the sharpest crayon in the box, but I even knew that was from my dad. Because it was like in the middle of the winter or something. He goes, why would there be a truck that said peaches?
So peaches in the middle of winter.
Yeah, it was like something that it wasn't springtime. It wasn't going to the grocery store. It was like this really odd, out of place. And other times the lights will flash. You'll hear banging noises and things like that. One young boy told me he was haunting his family, which is flippin' hilarious. They were here, his dad was an atheist, and it wasn't, but he was trying so hard to get their attention that because his dad's an atheist, his dad thought there was some kind of haunting going on, and he's laughing. He goes, I'm haunting my family. It wasn't. He's doing everything to try to get their attention. And so just know that you're really not alone, and your angels and guides and loved ones on the other side, even your further and four-legger family members are there with you. Just open yourself up for love and ask them for a sign.
Oh, bless you. Susanne, thank you so much. And as I know that this has been an eye-opener for a lot of people, and I know it's given you food for thought, that there is an eternity of life. There are things that we need to understand and to remember that we are an extension of the Creator. The Creator created us in unconditional love, and everything we think reacts in us doing and saying, and we need to watch what we're doing and saying. If what we're doing and saying is not very nice, you need to really look at yourself, because everything begins with us, and we are co-creators, and we have the power to live a most wonderful life, a life of forgiveness, and forgive ourselves. Life is hard, I know, lots of temptation, but remember, the higher power is unconditional love. We can make this world a far more better world than it is, down to us. So for now, thank you all for listening. I know you've got lots of knowledge from Susanne. I hope she'll come back again. And Susanne, thank you so much for sharing all these wonderful stories. And I say stories, but they're true. They're true things that happen.
Don't look them up. Everything I shared is online. They can Google it or go on TikTok and Instagram and YouTube and whatnot. Look it up.
Yeah, and definitely go on those and look at NDEs and what other people are saying that, are out there. And some feel very scared to even talk because they feel people are not going to listen. It's not believed. You can go and do your own research. But life is eternal. So let's live it the best way we can. Everybody, bye for now. Susanne, thank you so much. Take care.
Bye-bye,
everyone. Bye-bye.